Okay, hopefully everyone can see that, and hopefully everyone can hear me.
I can
hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Excellent. So thanks, Tanya. And as Tanya mentioned, my name's Nathan Dubrich, and I'm the head of sales at Source Certain International. I've also got, as Tanya mentioned, Grant Erskine, who's our Chief Commercial Officer, on the line today as well, and he'll be able to assist me with questions throughout the presentation or at the end of the presentation shortly. For those of you that may have tuned into the webinar last month, may have seen one of our strategic partners in Blockhead Technologies presenting, and they did do a brief introduction around our business. So it's really great today to be able to follow on from that and go into a bit more detail around our technology and our solutions today. Both myself and Source Certain are based in Perth, Western Australia, which is one of the most remote cities in the world. You can see a glimpse of that over my shoulder. But what it does have is a rich history in mining and is a key global producer within that industry. I personally have been with Source Certain now for nearly 2 years, and I joined the business originally as I saw it as a great opportunity to really make a difference through what we do. So today or tonight really is a great privilege to be able to speak with everybody and share a little bit about who we are, but more importantly, what our technology can offer the global mining industry moving forward. We feel, or we believe, that our provenance technology very much complements blockchain technology solutions and helps to enhance the traceability and integrity needed within both the gold and broader mining industries. As we know, blockchain technology is fast becoming a key trusted platform within the mining sector, but we believe we'll need to look at adopting other technologies to ensure that the data or the claims that are being communicated can truly be trusted. Source Certain can be that scientific link between the physical product and its digital twin, delivering that integrity and trust behind that information that we are sharing throughout that supply chain. Today for us really is about introducing our provenance verification tool for the mining industry, which we feel is going to be a critical component in building trusted and resilient supply chains for all critical and strategic minerals. The current geopolitical landscape has certainly put an increased focus around securing supply chains, localizing process or production, and increasing transparency to build confidence in claims, ESG impacts, and the origin of where some of these raw materials are coming from. So through the presentation, I'll talk a bit more about some of those points and go into a bit more detail, but I also want to talk and touch on the state of play as we see it for the mining industry, what we stand for as a business, why integrity matters, some of the industry risks, especially when we talk about social license, how we work with and complement other solutions, our provenance verification technology, and what our goals are around ongoing and future industry collaboration. So state of play. So as we see it, out of sight, out of mind has to a large extent been the business as usual approach across a number of minerals and metal supply chains. Solutions are now required that can mediate the required transparency necessary to manage those sourcing risks and ensure that the continued customer or consumer confidence and trust is maintained. There really hasn't really been probably more pressure than there is now from that consumer or customer end, because in the sense that they're focusing a lot more now around those impacts around both the environment and people, and expecting transparency on both where products are sourced or produced, especially if we're talking around ethical or sustainable sourcing. And we know there's been events over a long period of time in various parts of the globe that we believe have certainly highlighted just some of the gaps in the existing systems that might be available, or just simply the need, or highlights the need to look for ways to enhance some of those programs or standards that are currently available and being used. So integrity to us matters, and we see it that integrity should really be the foundation around delivering trust. So whether that be in the promises that are made to customers or consumers, or simply how we share information through the supply chain, it's never been more important around improving that transparency right through the supply chain. And in order to do that, it will deliver that greater integrity behind the data or information that we are communicating or sharing. Integrity within those value-based claims is certainly driving decisions. Again, whether it be ethically sourced, conflict-free, sustainably sourced, or now simply just confirmation around specific origin, we feel there needs to be means to scientifically link a product to its source of production or source of origin if we are going to truly verify that it was produced or sourced in a particular way and confirm that what is being passed through the supply chain or ends up at an end consumer is genuine, authentic, and has greater clarity on some of the social and environmental impacts. Because the reality is, if we don't, that social license risk to producers or organisations is potentially on the line. So the impacts, as I just mentioned, on companies or producers if we don't get this right is potentially significant. We also see it that it is everybody, or it's all players within that supply chain responsibility to ensure that social license is maintained. And we understand the pressure being applied. We understand there is more questions that are being asked, and we understand that there is more information that's being sought around origin, production methods, or ESG impacts. So having and improving those compliance measures is what's going to give organisations a chance, we believe, to really stand out, verify their messages, and maintain or generate a premium for products that can confirm those ethical or sustainable promises. It's also around protecting that investment made by shareholders, or simply protecting that customer or consumer loyalty, as well as what the risk involved is if we do allow actors to infiltrate the supply chain. And that's what really needs to be driving that focus behind the measures to maintain social license for companies to operate, or allow companies to operate at higher standards. So as I sort of touched on just briefly before, so we appreciate there are a number of challenges that are being faced across the industry as it stands today. We also appreciate that a lot of those challenges need to be tackled as a collaborative approach. And that's why our solutions that I'll talk to very soon have been designed to easily integrate with others, and also why we actively look for complementary service providers or technologies to work closely with in order to offer that comprehensive industry solution that's needed to verify some of these standards or claims. The one example of that collaboration, as I mentioned before, that was presenting at the last webinar in Blockhead Technologies. You know, we see them as a strategic partner moving forward, and see them as someone we can look to work with to support the global gold industry. Implementing scientific provenance verification to support digital or blockchain technology traceability systems is going to help to ensure the integrity of provenance claims that are attached to those products as they enter the supply chain. I want to touch on a bit more of this in the next coming slides, but it just further reinforces that the need to be able to bring together a combination of solutions is what's going to allow us to truly track, verify, and scientifically prove those provenance-based claims. So source certain in our technology. So our technology itself goes back now around about 40 years, back to the 1970s, when our chief scientist in Dr. John Watling pioneered a scientific method to determine the provenance or origin of both gold and diamonds, back then mainly to assist with various criminal investigations. He was then able to partner with our current CEO and the founder of Source Certain in Cameron Scatting, and together the two of them, really over the last probably 15 to 20 years now, have been able to evolve our technology into very much a cost-effective supply chain integrity solution that we have and continue to apply across most food or non-food products. Our technology is called TSW Trace, and what it allows us to do is analyse that relationship between the product and the environment, where we're identifying various trace elements, isotopes, or molecules in order to create a unique chemical fingerprint for both the product itself and its matching location of origin. So I just mentioned that we started with gold, and that's also why sometimes our method or our technology is referred to as gold fingerprinting. So the elements that we're able to identify are unique and are a direct representation of the specific origin or provenance on where that product has come from. The equipment we use and the methods that we apply allows us to determine the number of elements and isotopes that are present within those samples that we analyse. That composition of these elements is then used to build a pattern or a fingerprint, as we call it. And that is a direct representation, as I just mentioned, of where that product has come from. Just like all of us, so everyone on the call tonight or today, each has a fingerprint that is very unique to that particular person, as too is the pattern or fingerprint that we determine from the products that we analyse and work with, as well as its unique to its specific source of provenance or origin. So the level of precision and the physical testing of the product are just some of the key points of difference within our technology and allow us to determine the provenance of a product to a very specific or granular level. We achieve this by fundamentally analysing those trace elements or trace metals that are absorbed by a product, and we do that down to parts per million or parts per trillion, and in some cases even further. Just a couple of examples around that level of granularity, if we talk both within the mining sector and outside, is that we're able to distinguish the difference between, say, two neighbouring orchards on the same farm, different kimberlite pipes within a single mine site, or even down to as specific as a caged egg shed next to a free-range field, directly side by side. I think it's also important for a couple of reasons that we acknowledge that there are other technologies that are out there that are using different scientific methods to determine provenance, but in a lot of cases that's to a country of origin or to a general region. And in a lot of cases, and in some cases, this can be quite effective, and a number of those scenarios that can be effective. But the way we see it, that in a lot of the scenarios we're dealing with at the moment, especially within the mining sector, that it may not be specific enough, especially when we are looking to verify some of those key ESG claims that relate very specifically to a source or a specific point of origin and where that product has come from. So our technology has evolved, as I mentioned before, but also had extensive forensic application over a number of years now, even going back to when it was first pioneered. What this has done is it sees our technology now as both being proven and legally established as a scientific method and internationally accepted through the courts. This has come from a result of a number of things, but fundamentally from numerous peer-reviewed publications, and there's more than 100 of those that have been done, as well as successful legal cases where both our methods have been applied, as well as quite rigorously challenged. We've also been really fortunate to have worked with a number of the global law enforcement agencies industry regulators, industry associations or industry bodies, as well as various other businesses. We've been able to support them in various investigations around global food fraud, product counterfeit, and various other criminal activities. So just with that, I thought it was important just to briefly just highlight or talk to a very specific case study or example where we've applied our technology, and in this particular example is in relation to gold. So this is sort of one of our more well-known cases that we've worked on. It was called Operation Icarus, and it was quite a complex organised crime investigation where gold was taken from one of the largest mine sites in the world, right here in our backyard in Western Australia. So through the work we did, or the investigation that we helped conduct, and obviously the application of our technology, we were able to lead to the identification of a group of persons of interest. And the key outcome from this led to nearly 100 convictions. Now, the way this was able to be achieved was not only through our ability to verify the source on where that gold had come from, but we were also able to identify the time and day in which that gold was poured. And as a result, they were able to then trace back who was working in that pouring room on that particular day, which as a result obviously led to a further investigation and therefore a significant number of convictions from that particular investigation. So why do we feel that provenance verification is so important? So for us, we want to protect the link between a product and its origin, simply because that's where we see the most valuable qualities originating from. And whether that be production methods, environmental health, supporting standards, certifications, or just promoting regional significances. Without provenance verification, the way we see it and what we've sort of identified with a number of the supply chains and challenges that are being faced is that in a lot of cases, you can really only track a product or verify a claim to a certain point within a supply chain. And in a lot of cases now, that's just not far enough. So in a lot of cases as well, it's also important that a lot of the data or information that is being obviously stored, extracted, or shared does still contain that human element. And as we know, from time to time, that can open opportunities for error, either by mistake or deliberately. So the way that we see it is that by then combining some of the existing solutions with independent scientific provenance is what's going to help ensure the accuracy and the integrity of the data or information at all times through that supply chain. So as I mentioned a few slides ago, we're openly looking and always are looking to collaborate with others for a couple of reasons. One, because we understand the complementary nature of our technology, but also because we don't necessarily see ourselves as the silver bullet to solve all of these issues. And I don't think there's any one solution out there that can do that. We do see ourselves, however, as a critical and key element in helping to work through supporting a number of these claims and getting back to a very specific point of provenance or origin. There are a number of elements or parts, if you like, that go into full transparency and integrity within a supply chain. And we hear, and we've heard it a lot of times of late, there's a lot of different traceability services or solutions that are available. And sometimes traceability is, I guess, spoken about as a blanket approach across most solutions or most parts of the supply chain. Excuse me. But we see traceability, we see chain of custody, and we see provenance And although they're spoken about sometimes all under that traceability umbrella, they're all equally important. They all act in a very independent way, as we see it. And they all contribute to that broader transparency solution. So as we see, each part, as I mentioned, each part play a key role in whether it be determining the origin of the product through that provenance verification, which is fundamental to what our solutions can deliver. Tracking that product from source to customer, which obviously is a key part of the digital or blockchain traceability solutions that are available, and then maintaining that record of ownership through the chain of custody or chain of custody standards that are out there. But in order to achieve full transparency across the supply chain, all three elements need to be present. So once again, just reinforces the need and the willingness, I guess, for others to want to come together and collaborate across some of these challenges. So we wanted to share this slide both to further demonstrate our ability to integrate and support some of the traceability solutions or certification or standard solutions that are out there, but also just give that visual representation around where we play, where we start, and the support we offer right through that supply chain. It does start to show the flow of data through the supply chain. And as I said, the role that we play in both protecting and verifying that data, but more importantly for us is the ability to verify the provenance right back to that specific mine or source of origin. So our role really is to engage ideally at the earliest point of origin to establish that fingerprint, or as we call it as well, our provenance database. And that then allows us to support and verify claims right through and at various points within the supply chain as that product changes hands or transforms in some cases. So since the development of our technology, I've sort of alluded to that it has been broadly applied across a number of industries, from industry solutions to B2B arrangements, as well as various other overt or covert investigations. And this I just wanted to sort of touch on this very briefly, that just to reinforce and demonstrate the broad application of our technology, as well as just highlight just some of the work that we have and continue to do across the various industries that are out there. So we really see this platform, this opportunity tonight, and a lot of the conversations we've been having of late as a great opportunity to really communicate what our technology can do, but most importantly, share how we feel we can add value to the entire gold or broader mining industry. Our key goal really is around driving transparency through a collaborative approach, which allows owners, producers, supply chain stakeholders to then operate with greater confidence and integrity. And we believe this can be done through that collaborative partnership between industry, certification or standard bodies, as well as scientific provenance technology, supporting provenance claims, improving standards, maintaining social and environmental responsibilities, a clear line of sight of approved sources, and offering that integrated solution that can really drive further value in both domestic and global markets. So our programs are designed to build verification capacity across whether it be a national, state and industry, or simply across other traceability systems. So each of these groups in their own right or collectively can engage with us, or they can leverage our provenance database to both test and validate their own traceability systems. So we can start to move from purely a digital-based traceability program or solution to a product-based verification program. The benefits to both industry or to various blockchain technology solutions is really about how we can help enhance new or existing programs through our provenance database, established forensic technology, and independent scientific verification of provenance and authenticity to a much greater granularity and specific back to a specific source. So what we're looking to achieve really is to build greater trust in those promises that truly matter, now more than ever. And that's around safe, environmentally sustainable, ethical trade, just to name a couple. And we believe through that, enhanced trust and demand for those that can deliver on those promises will continue to grow. So Source Certain as a business, in collaboration with blockchain technology, will digitally enable and scientifically prove the provenance and traceability data of products, and as a result, creating trusted and resilient supply chains moving forward. So thank you again. Like I said, it's a real honour to be able to join the webinar today and allow myself and Source Certain the opportunity to talk about who we are and the role that we can play in further supporting not just the gold industry, but the broader mining industry as on a global basis. Obviously, we'd welcome any questions that you may have, obviously today, or we're more than happy to connect with anybody outside of the platform to discuss any of this information around our business in more detail. So thanks, once again, thank you very much. And I'll hand it back to Tanya.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I see Grant was busy answering questions here. I don't know, Grant, if you want to say something live.
Oh, no, happy to take any further questions. Actually, I wasn't actually reading the chat, so I saw the questions, but not the chat. So yeah, definitely happy to answer any questions.
Dina, do you want to answer your question, to ask your question?
Yeah, thanks so much. I would be happy to ask a few questions live. So first question, what is the set of elements that you use, or isotopes?
Yeah, so
how big is it?
Yeah, we're testing across the entire periodic table, across all the elements, and depending on the commodity, we will also then analyze the stable isotopes as well. But for the most part, if we're analysing gold, it's the periodic table that we're testing, the entire periodic table. Yeah.
Thanks. So all of them are significant, and the combination of all the periodic elements allows you to trace it down to the mine level.
Yeah, I mean, there will be certain metals that just won't have any concentration in some parts of the world, and in some parts there will be. So yeah, the interesting thing about gold is when gold is formed, it sucks in all of these trace metals from its environment. And then so when that gold eventually comes to the surface through just general mining practices, those trace metals provide a signature to where it's come from, and that's underpins how the technology ultimately works.
Thanks so much. Just one more, if I may. How big is your reference data set? How many samples from how many deposits?
Yeah, we do have quite a sizable set. Not all of it is available. Some of it was owned by the various law enforcement agencies around the world that had used Source Certain and our scientists to solve some pretty high-profile cases. So yeah, it's a relatively large database, but it would be great in 10 years' time that every gold mine that ultimately fed into certified refiners that were trading under LBMA all had a reference library that Source Certain had collected on behalf of the industry. And if we did that, and ultimately that's where we want to get to, we could take any piece of gold from anywhere in the world and tell you where it came from. But that's something we want to work towards.
Great, thanks so much.
Excellent. Great. I'm going to be wrapping up here. We are close to our time. Thank you very much. I just want to say a few words in conclusion about what we heard today. What we're trying to do with these webinars is to build trust in the mining community to the blockchain technology. And the reason is we want the mining companies to benefit from using it. So it was great actually to hear from Nathan today that the example of gold, source certain technology for gold implementation was to see the gold being stolen from the mine, right? So it's not only to prove to our customers where the gold is coming from, but it's also for us, for miners, because our goal here is to help the mining companies to trust the technology and start implementing it. So first of all, we can benefit from the technology. Now, in order to use this technology, we need to have a trustworthy data, which is what Source Certain is working on. And then we have to know how to use the blockchain technology and all the kind of intermediate steps. And this is where responsible gold is coming from. I think it will benefit us in our operations. It will improve our image. Mining suffers from bad image. And for example, just today, I read on BBC published a big article about illegal mining in Brazil. And it wasn't artisanal mining only. They had, machinery, equipment, etc. The technologies like Source Certain and Responsible Gold together will help mining industry to make our operations better, to improve our image, and also to benefit ourselves, also economically. I'm hoping this is helpful. Thank you very much for Nirali and Nathan and Grant for joining us. We will continue with our webinars, we'll continue with our education. Please keep an eye on our website, kamni.co. And also blockchaininmining.com. The recording of this webinar will be available in a couple of days on our webpage. And I wish everybody to have a great summer, and I'm looking forward to see you all in September.
Great, thanks Tanya, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Tanya.
Guys. Goodbye everybody.
Thank you, see ya.